welcome to the podcast, Taylor.
Hello.
Do you want to just give a quick intro of like who you are and what you do within the SCP Wiki?
Hi, my name is Taylor. In real life, I make music on the Wiki, which I guess is also real life. I am the co-captain of the community outreach team. I spearheaded the seminars project, and I am one of the two people helping to run the 6K contest.
Yeah, so that's actually how I ended up. Well, I've always kind of known about you and
Stop.
And Proc. Say his name for me. He's the other person who runs the contest.
Procyon Lotor, which apparently is the scientific name for raccoon, according to him.
Oh,
I didn't know that either,
okay.
and then I got made a lot of fun of when I thought it was pronounced Procyon Lotor, and it's not.
Oh well, yeah. Just you should know how to pronounce Greek or Latin. Come on.
I'm 20, and I failed out of Spanish in college, so no, I shouldn't.
Yeah, I don't even know half of Latin. I mean, I started actually learning Latin, but anyway, not like actually, but like watching people being like, Latin's pronounced this way.
A lot of my
Latin's
friends
this
in
way.
high school took Latin. They were like, it's the coolest. And then I was like, should I take it? And they were like, no.
No, yeah. It's one of those languages I'm like, I'll enjoy it from the sidelines. I'm not going to bother learning it.
Very conflicting statements, to be honest.
But actually, so I didn't know. I want to ask you about this real quick before we jump into the 6,000 contest. But I actually didn't know you make music.
I do.
For the Wiki.
Oh, well, okay. So, that's sort of. I've never. So a number of years ago, there was some random person, and this is before I was staff, who was like, I'm gonna write an article about space and how space is musical, and there's like a galaxy that's sentient and it makes music because it's sad. And I was like, whoa. So I PM'd them. I was like, yo, do you need music? They were like, what? Yeah. So I wrote like this really, really simple classical piece, and this is way before I got like really into music. This is like when I was just like fiddling around and stuff. So I used a lot of GarageBand presets, and it was okay, but it was not completely original. You know what I mean? It was a lot of the pre-programmed MIDI files on GarageBand, and that's kind of the extent of the music I've made for the Wiki, and nothing ever happened with that. I have a few friends from the Wiki who I help mix for, who I collaborate with on some personal projects. If it ever goes anywhere, a big time author and I have been sort of working on a -J article where I'll be writing a piece for, though.
Oh, cool.
Sorry, I had like milkshake stuck in my throat.
No worries. Wow, so you got a lot kind of going on.
Yeah.
Potentially. So that's fun. Yeah. So for people who don't know, moving on to the contest stuff, what's that about? How come you can't just write an article for any number?
So the series of articles for the Wiki, we release them in kind of chunks of 1,000 because essentially we want to have, a set area where people can write for. You don't want people claiming numbers that could be influential or, get more attention than other numbers arbitrarily. Stuff like the X000 articles obviously will garner more attention than an article that's just like, let's say we're still in the 5,000 series, an article that's like 5,322. That's not going to get as much notoriety or as much attention as 5,000 because it's not as big or impactful of a number to the series. So for contests, for the X1,000 contests, what we do is once we've hit like, it depends on how quickly things are filling up. I think this year we did it when it hit about 140 slots remaining in this series. We released this contest where the winner gets to choose their slot in the 6,000 series. Usually that person will either choose like X000 or X999 or X234, something that's notable that somebody might search for arbitrarily without really having a reason to do so. It makes it so that everything kind of, everything's fair in its own way.
Gotcha. And that's all basically a popularity run contest where the site members, not the members, the people on that have a wiki account can vote for.
I wouldn't say
what they
popularity.
liked.
I would because popularity would insinuate it's based on the authors themselves, when I mean obviously there's going to be some influence of that in the way that people vote, but that's kind of just, that's just a flaw of the system. That's a flaw of any voting system. Anybody might have some bias to vote towards somebody they like more than somebody that they don't know. But in general, the idea is, you vote based on how much you like the article, and that's kind of what we really trying to enforce.
Gotcha. And so this is actually something I never looked into, so I thought I'd just ask you is, do you need to be a member on the site for a certain amount of time to, because I know there's like a trust factor that
Not at all.
Those like colored lines.
Nope.
So you could literally just make an account.
If
and
you
vote
made an account
the
and
day of.
vote, that is absolutely fine. Obviously, if you have, weird voting patterns, if we find out that you've downvoted every single article by one person, we're going to be like, But no, there's no reason that you can't just make an account and join and be like, I like this, upvote. That's absolutely fine.
Cool. That's basically as inclusive as it gets.
Yeah, I mean, hey, we want as many people to join as we can. That's the idea.
And so, speaking of new series, how do you pick the themes for each contest?
You want to know how it happened this year?
Yeah, no, I generally
Let me read you. Let me let me let me read you my PMs with Procky. Let's see. Where is it? Okay. Coming up on them. Here we go. All right. That was us going. Okay. On the 4th of April, in all capital letter, me. Hey, I forgot to hit you up, bud. 6K. Him. Let's do it tomorrow. Me. Okay. Next day. So these are the themes I've brainstormed so far, and I sent him, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 themes, and he's just like, I like this one. I was like, I like that one too, and that was how the theme was decided. That was the entirety of our conversation.
Can you spill the beans on what the other themes were?
Oh yeah, no, I've already
those?
released them to a bunch of people because I have no filter. The first one was transformation, evolution, nature, which is what we went with, disaster, unsolved, and digital. Those were the themes I had come up with. And Procky's been pretty busy lately, so I assume those were the only ones that we had, but I don't know for sure.
I didn't realize it was just you two. I thought it'd be like a bunch of the other staff that would have to like vote on the theme and things like that.
In years past, it's literally only been Procky. This is my first year that a 1,000 contest has been happening where I've been a co-captain of community outreach. The other co-captain before me was way more into actually writing for the site than I am at this point. I just don't have the time to anymore with my job and school and other stuff. But he was into it a lot more than I am, so he was able to say, hey, I want to participate in the contest. So Procky was like, all right, and didn't include him in the planning because we don't include whoever's going to be writing in the planning. This is the first year I was like, hey, you want help? He was like, really?
That's cool. Yeah, I didn't realize it was a one-man band not all these years. I'm assuming there are people before him.
Well, so the theme and the rules for these are usually... I'm gonna yawn, I'm sorry. I need to get more sleep. The theme and the rules tend to be thought up and executed by like 1 or 2 people because the idea is, we want the most amount of people to be able to participate as possible, and if you helped to formulate the rules or anything like that before it goes up, you've got an unfair advantage, so you can't participate.
That's fair. That's interesting, yeah. I didn't realize that even just being involved in writing...
Yeah, no, we try and make it
boots you
absolutely as fair as possible, so if you have any hand in any part of the creation of the contest, we don't allow you to participate.
Say you want to collab later on after something's writing. Does that even count too? Because I know sometimes...
What do you mean by later on?
Authors will... So I know sometimes with articles, an author will throw up a draft and then another author would be like, hey, you want to team up to clean this up together? Would that disqualify the person from being able to be a judge or I guess moderator? I don't know what your
So you mean to moderate the contest?
Yeah.
So the contest isn't moderated by we don't choose winners based on what we think. The winners are just chosen by overall upvote count by the time that the timer runs out. The moderators of the contest, I mean, we limit that to, first of all, we limit that to staff. I'm gonna yawn again. My God. I yawn chronically. It's an issue. I'm not even kidding. I'll go to work and I'll be in the middle of teaching and my student will be like, "You're gonna yawn." I'm like, "I'm gonna yawn." It's awful. So moderation of contests is limited to staff, and it's usually a very small team. It's usually just the people who are running the contest. So for 1,000 contests, or I guess 1,000 contests, because this is going to be 6,000, not 1,000. We've got 3 people currently. We've got Procky, myself, and then another staff member, Napic Fail. He's a cool guy, who volunteered to help because they won't have time to write either. Essentially, what we do is we make sure... Here I go again. It's chronic, I tell you. So, essentially, what moderation for these contests is, it's just... what's the right way to put this? We just kind of make sure that things fit within the theme, and we're very liberal about that, especially for the 1,000 contests. We, if you haven't noticed, the theme is extremely broad. So yeah, that's kind of the idea for these 1,000 contests, because we want to let the writers formulate what the series should be, not us. So when that happens, we just make sure things kind of fit within the theme, at least in some form of broad sense. And if we don't think they do, we're going to ask the author to justify it. Here I go again. I am really sorry. It's impossible for me to not yawn. I don't get it. We ask the author to justify it if need be. If it's rule breaking, as in if it breaks the site rules, that's a little different. That'll probably end up being disqualified. We make sure nobody posts before the posting date starts. That will disqualify you. But, in general, moderation is really just making sure the rules are followed. Essentially to the point, does this fit? Is this plagiarized? Does it follow the site rules? Yes, no, or whatever order that needed to be in. Cool. Keep going.
So you guys aren't necessarily also enforcing the site rules.
We are enforcing the site rules, but
well, I mean, not just you guys.
Yeah, well, the site rules are enforced by staff overall, but the contest team, if we notice something isn't following site rules, then that'll be a red flag. Gotcha.
Yeah, so that's not as much pressure, I guess.
Yeah.
Then
it's not actually as involved as you'd think. Really, it gets more involved when posting starts. But thankfully, this contest has a month-long writing period before the posting, so we got a little bit of time.
Is that So how have other contests kind of been that you've been involved in? How have they've kind of been structured compared to this one?
So. Oh gosh, I'm gonna have to pull it up because it's been a very long time since I ran it, 2 years. A couple years ago, I ran a contest with in 2019. Wow, that was 2 years ago. That's really weird. 2020 happened, I guess.
Yes,
I guess. That's what I'm told at least. So in 2019. A former staff member and I ran a contest called ClichéCon, which was essentially, it was a cliche contest, but specifically for, the SCP Foundation's cliches. For example, I believe there were 3 cliches that we did. We did, oh no, that's right. We did way more than that. We did... We did 5 different anomaly cliches you could use and 5 different story element cliches that you could use. The cliches were for the anomalies were a compulsion effect that makes you do bad things or kills you, spooky, scary murder monsters, an anomaly so helpful or harmless the Foundation lets it roam the site and has minimal containment procedures. Being helpful or harmful is optional. A doorway of any shape to a different dimension, timeline, or world, and an item that is very good at doing the thing it's supposed to do. Too good, in fact. The story elements were a highly skilled mobile task force gets steamrolled. Not my wording. An interview in which the anomaly is overly cryptic, followed by the interviewer suffering. GOI/POI here gets one over the Foundation, making them look like fools in the process. termination attempts, and D class equals disposable class. So the idea of this contest was essentially, you know, these are things that are very common in like series 1 articles, or things that, you know, somebody who doesn't know much about site culture or modern day articles will come in like, this is what is the best type thing. And it's not bad, but it's really hard to do well because so many things have been done with them. That's the thing. And that was kind of the challenge of this contest. If I recall correctly, we had so the posting began on January 1st of 2019 and ended on the 31st, and winners were announced on the 15th, and the page was posted on the 14th of December. So there were a couple weeks of writing period, but then the idea behind this one was also, you know, part of the posting period was also a writing period. I think this might be the first contest that, especially for 1,000 contest, that we've decided, oh, it makes more sense to have a, you know, a longer writing period than posting period. That made sense, and we kind of were like, why haven't we done that yet?
Huh. Interesting. Yeah. Because that's something I was always kind of hazy on. I didn't know if there was like a solid rule book you guys have, and this is how every contest gets structured.
Solid rule books are not a thing in this kind of thing. Like we have a staff charter for, you know, overall staff stuff, but like specific team things don't often have a very specific rule book.
That's interesting. I guess I always assumed there was, just because the site's been up for so long. Like it's.
Let me rephrase that. When I say there's no specific rule book, it's each team has its own, you know, stuff that it does and stuff like that, but there's no like there's no constitution of each individual team. There are the staff guidelines that the charter outlines, but in general, as long as you're not being awful and as long as you're doing what needs to be done and doing it well and being not awful, then it's fine.
Yeah, so I guess it's a lot of trust put into each team to just do their thing.
We also do have team captains who we who have either spearheaded large projects or, you know, created the teams and stuff that have allowed them to lead the rest of them.
You know, I guess that makes sense, considering it's not like people who become staff, they're just like all of a sudden they go from 0 experience to staff. Because from how I was explained, you basically can take like a junior role and then you can kind of slowly over time, as you become more experienced and more trusted, then you can start kind of picking up other roles.
So junior staff are brought on essentially as kind of like, I mean, it's a junior staff position. You don't have access to staff spaces where we have, you know, big policy discussions, but you do have access to posting on the staff site where we have all the public discussions and everything like that, which is where, you know, the majority of policy discussions and stuff happen. Behind closed doors is mostly like, hey, do we want to pursue this as a thing? Or, hey, do we think we should formulate a policy on this? Or, hey, I like your tie today. So it's that kind of conversation. O5 is where the majority of like stuff that needs to be public is public, because that's the idea behind it. And that's where junior staff get access to. You also have responsibilities to uphold, like the forum criticism team. You know, their junior staff are responsible for doing forum criticism. One of the teams that I lead under community outreach is the seminars team. My junior staff are responsible for making sure that lesson plans get revised and, you know, like the seminars get moderated. Once you have been on junior staff for a certain amount of time, usually a few months, you're eligible to be put up for a promotion to operational staff, which is where you get access to, you know, the behind closed door spaces. You get access to posting on O5 without needing permission. You get access to essentially being able to make staff posts, and like that's when you're a full-fledged staff member.
Okay. And so if say someone wants to be a junior member, do they have to wait for like an opening, or do they just say, hey, I have the time and I want to learn how to do this kind of stuff?
It largely depends on the team. A lot of teams are always looking for junior staff. Like the MAST team, I'm not sure if they're currently looking for junior staff, but they are pretty often looking for junior staff because their team is essentially MAST is the biggest team, I would say. It encompasses pretty much all of the miscellaneous activities that staff need to do, as well as specific things like guide updating, but they're also They also tag all the articles. They also make sure that articles are tagged correctly, all that kind of grunt work stuff. So they're looking for junior staff a lot. Community outreach has a lot of teams, but not always in need of junior staff. But there are some teams that are invite only, like Forum Crit, because it's enormous and also very prone to burnout because it's a lot of work. So there's no like roster of like, we need this many people at all times. It's more just like, hey, you do good work. Are you interested? Or hey, we're looking for junior staff. Here's a thread where you can say, hey, I'd like to be junior staff.
Well, I'm assuming there's been a higher demand the past few years, right? Because I know the site's grown a lot in the amount of traffic that comes in the past few years, right?
Well, the traffic, yes, definitely. I wouldn't. So I've only actually been on staff for 2 years myself, and I've only been in a leadership position for about a year, and a year and a half, I guess. Oh my god, time is really a thing that happens. I'm so bad with time. I actually couldn't tell you for real how long I've been on staff as an authority figure. My team, I'd probably have a bit of a skewed perspective on that because my team, I built from the ground up. Seminars was my idea that I worked with somebody who was junior staff for a while on, but ended up quitting because they just didn't have the time. It's an idea that I built from the ground up with their help, and then after they left, continued. So it was an entirely new team. So my team, I brought on completely new junior staff because we had a new team to put staff into. It's not the same outlook that somebody who's been here longer than me would have in terms of upkeep and raising numbers in junior staff, because I'm from the angle of, well, I needed staff who weren't already staff because I had an entirely new team.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. Well, just real quick. So actually the seminars is pretty much, I'm pretty sure, is how I first saw you on the server we share.
Hell yeah.
But do you want to just explain that real quick to people who don't know what that's about?
Seminars was originally started as a forum criticism thing because that's I'm the co-captain of community outreach who hasn't done forum crit in 2 years, and that is the team I was promoted to operational staff from. Haha. Fooled them. I win. I snuck in. They still think I'm one of them.
Imposter. Imposter among us.
Yeah, seriously. Oh god, among us. Oh, just gonna upset every.
I'm sorry.
No, I find it hilarious. But so it originally started as a forum crit thing because a large problem that forum crits faces is people who write things that aren't necessarily bad, but are really, really overdone. So they don't come across as original enough to be impactful. And on top of that, it was also a huge problem that people who had to continuously give critique to stuff like this would be burnt out because forum crit gets swamped daily. Zin, who is just the nicest human being and also probably the hardest working person on staff ever, is ridiculous. Back when I was paying attention to the forums, the forum crit forums, I would see her doing 5 to 6 threads a day in addition to her job and her admin duties. It was jeez. Jeez. And I was like, I'll do 2 and then I will go to bed. So burnout is a lot, but I got decently okay at doing forum crit for a while, and I thought, okay, a way that we could help people out is maybe we could teach some people some more effective ways to give critique. So I, with Zin's permission, I started doing some of those seminars to give some other critters some help. And eventually, as I was promoted and stuff kept going, I decided it might be a cool idea to expand just from giving critique as a seminar topic to, maybe we can help people improve their writing so that some of these things that we've been helping people learn to critique maybe aren't as necessary to keep critiquing anymore. So it spawned, I think the first one was a dialogue seminar after that. And then we got some people to do action sequences. A couple of people did creating memorable characters, and it's not just me hosting them. A bunch of people have hosted them. We've had some site users who have written a really great amount of articles host them. We've had other staff members host them. You know, essentially anybody who we can say, oh, you're known on the wiki for writing this really good, who wants to do a seminar. Yeah, my team will work with them to help make it happen.
And how often do you guys have like a set schedule, or is it just kind of whenever?
Sort of. So we also do orientation seminars where we have a Twitch channel where we kind of do every few months, we do like a live, like, this is how you use and navigate the site thing. That is scheduled to happen at least 3 times a year. There's a seminars and workshops hub on the site. You can find it in the sidebar or the top bar of the wiki. That has a calendar on it. We have other seminars that happen. We try and aim for at least 6 a year. Because obviously, you know, people have lives outside the wiki. We don't want to overwhelm anybody who has to give them or moderate them. But also, you know, like, we can't expect massive turnout to every single one of them. So we try and have, you know, at least one seminar for one orientation every for 3 times a year. And then, you know, within those trimesters, we tend to have at least one more of some form. Sometimes hosted by seminar staff, sometimes not.
And so you all basically do this on a Twitch stream?
The orientations. Some seminars can take place on the Twitch channel, but that's not necessarily as likely. They will more often take place on the IRC channels.
Okay, so that's all text basically.
Yeah,
then.
We try and make it as, you know, interactive and inclusive as possible. Though we have activities that go on in them. Like the dialogue seminar has an entire role play section where you go and you formulate like a 3-sentence backstory for your character, and then you play that character in a situation, and then you swap backstories and characters to see how that kind of thing will impact the way that they speak.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
that sounds fun.
It is a lot of fun, actually. I enjoy doing that one with everybody.
Wait, so do you have like so you mentioned where you can find it on the wiki with the calendar, but I'll throw links to the Twitch, and then do you guys have like a specific, I don't use Twitter, but do you have a specific Twitter that you guys also announce?
We do, which I help to run, actually. I don't remember the URL because I'm bad at that, but let me pull it up.
And yeah, well, just for people listening, everything will be in the YouTube description.
Oh, that makes sense. It's literally just at SCP Wiki. That would make a lot of sense, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it's just the wiki.
I help run this account, and I didn't know that. Whoops. Don't tell me.
And are there any other like public spots you also kind of announce this stuff in?
Yeah. So stuff like that is always announced pretty much on every social media. There's a Facebook. There's a Reddit. We have an Instagram. The Twitter. Those are the main ones.
I've seen it on the Reddit. That's where I usually see it.
We also announce it on the front page.
Okay. Gotcha. So it's hard to miss.
Yeah, well, we try and make it that way.
Even still, I will still link to the main social media sites for people who don't follow it.
Go for it.
Because I don't think everyone's fully aware of like how pretty much every major social media site there is an SCP account for.
Yeah.
Like me personally, I only really follow r/SCP since I don't really heavily use.
That's our biggest one, I think, honestly.
Media. Yeah, that's definitely like very active.
Yeah.
There. Which is kind of nice. It's exciting. There's a lot of momentum and energy there.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest ones we have.
And so, okay, so I didn't know. So you said your title again. It was community outreach, right? Is your team?
Yeah, I'm the co-captain of community outreach.
And so, yeah, what are some? I think you might have probably listed them already, but what are like any other kind of responsibilities that your team does?
Seminars or community outreach in general?
Community outreach in general.
So at the moment, we are working on a town halls initiative to kind of allow the user base a more direct route to staff, allow them to share their thoughts with us on policies, you know, inter-staff workings. At the end of the day, it's sometimes a little bit easy to forget just because of how much we're separated by circumstance from the user base that we're not working for us, we're working to make the site better for the user base. And we all know that, but sometimes, you know, just in the heat of the moment, it's a little bit easy to forget that. And this is hopefully going to help keep us grounded to that, but also help provide the community a way to have a little bit more faith in us, have a way to, you know, allow us to influence policy based on how they'd like to see the site progress. We also have we had an introductions team, but that ended up I'm not sure how active that still is personally, actually, but there's also the site news. Pretty much anything you see that has to do with any form of event on site is community outreach.
Okay, cool. So literally anything involving talking to the public, essentially.
Well, on-site public.
On-site,
Off-site would be internet outreach.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, I do mix those up. I will say, because that's why I see the IO teams. Like, okay, yeah, that makes sense now. There are so many teams.
There are a lot of teams.
Keep track of. I'm not a writer. I'm not an author, so I feel like I'm always kind of out of the loop on a lot of this stuff because obviously it's very author centric, the site, for obvious reasons. So that's why I like kind of getting the podcast people on the. Just anyone who's worked staff or is familiar with the wiki. Yeah. That's why authors and like you guys are really helpful. So that way you don't have to like ask questions and then annoy people. And hopefully I plan on clipping all these things so y'all can have an easy time kind of jumping if you forget what's what on the staff. But that's cool. I didn't realize. So was there anything kind of that predated the town hall that let people kind of like send like complaint letters
we
or
have,
like suggestions?
The IRC rooms, we have Site 17, which is our help channel. Staff are we always have our PMs open to getting complaints or suggestions. PMing an admin doesn't always work because the way that Wikidot functions, every single time someone sends an application into the site, they get an inbox notification. So a lot of the admins, I've seen pictures of their inbox. One of the admins has like 56,000 unread messages.
Oh no!
Yeah. That's probably way more than it actually is, but I'm bad at numbers. But it's a lot. It's more than 4,000. I remember that very specifically. So sending a message to an admin might not be your best bet because they legitimately might not be capable of seeing it. You're much more likely to receive a response sending to a moderator or below, but that's literally just because of the way Wikidot functions. It's not an intentional ignoring of anything.
And I guess for people who don't know, from my understanding, literally everyone on the staff, they're all volunteer. No one gets paid.
Not a single person.
It's like they all work real jobs and do this on the side.
The closest thing I could ever think of to any of us getting quote unquote paid is the legal fund, and none of that is going to any of us. None of us have access to that. That's the only thing that I can recall ever having to do with money. And that's straight up legitimately 100% going to the legal funds. That's nothing to do with us other than the fact that we helped to organize it.
Yeah, you guys aren't the lawyers on the case.
No, not at all.
You can say say you're not getting
none of
paid.
us get paid for this. None of us receive any money.
Yeah. That's interesting. I didn't realize. So is that the first and only fundraiser involving the site?
That's the only one that I've ever known of.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting to think that 10 years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably getting to 11 years
If I recall, actually, Gears had cancer semi-recently, and we linked a GoFundMe for his cancer fund.
Yeah. So
he's doing much better, thank God.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna ask. I didn't have any
he's
updates,
doing much better.
So that's great, and that I remember that was like a resounding success.
Yeah.
It was very nice to see.
Yes.
I caught on it too late, so I was like, oh shit. I was like, I should have probably shared this, but I'm always kind of behind with these things. But yeah, that was actually really heartwarming because I know he's been around for a long time.
Very long
in the
time.
Community.
Very long time.
Yeah, so I just find it really interesting also just from like an external perspective how the site has lasted this long on a completely voluntary team. Because I feel like the only other like big, I guess like quote air quotes fan run pages I've seen are like the Billy Joel fan website or things like that. You know, it's not like a creative community or something.
Did you know that the biggest site on Wikidot isn't the SCP Foundation? The biggest site...
Is it the Billy Joel one?
No, it's BruceBase, which is the world's largest database of Bruce Springsteen information. I think it's Bruce Springsteen. That's the only Bruce I would know of, but...
Yeah, no, I think that's what I was mixing up. I meant to say
That's
the Bruce
so
Springsteen.
ridiculously funny to me.
So yeah, that's like I heard it still looks like it's from like the early
It
2000s
does.
or 90s.
It does.
It's like,
It's awesome. Then again, so do
it's
we.
great.
But you know, it's our classic look.
Well, I've noticed a lot of authors kind of update it in a sense.
Yeah,
with
we
how
don't
they
have
design their articles.
Yeah,
and stuff.
there's a policy for what can and can't be used on articles, but it's essentially like, hey, don't break site functionalities. Other than that, you can do whatever the hell you want to your articles. We don't care as long as it's not offensive and it follows the site rules. Then do whatever the hell you want.
Because I've noticed definitely in the last few series, things have gotten pretty interesting with some of the design people do.
I think it's really fun to be creative like that.
Yeah, and it was interesting to see, like, I'm in our SCP Declassified, that Discord server.
Yep.
And sometimes I just see author chats of them teaching each other how to, like, do web coding.
Yeah, that is completely over my head. I did one CSS theme. I helped make the Wondertainment theme, which is awful, by the way. It's disgusting. Almost intentionally so, but not entirely intentionally so. And I forgot how to do everything from that completely and immediately after finishing.
Yeah, I kind of just stay away from anything coding related.
Yup.
It's not for me. I don't think like that.
Nope.
I don't have the attention to detail with like small little
Me
things.
too.
Like I think literally when I sent you the questions, I wrote overall history with rubbing competitions.
With
so,
what?
Yeah, I think,
did that say? Did it? Hold on, I'm checking.
yeah, it did. At least it says right now on my list.
It does. It does say that.
When I meant to say running.
I didn't even notice it. I read it as running.
But actually, yeah, you know what? Since I brought that up real quick, are there any other contests that you've also run in the past?
Just ClichéCon. Just ClichéCon. That's the only other one that I've run. I was supposedly a contest marshal for 5,000, but like that didn't involve anything. I didn't do anything.
What does a marshal even do?
Contest marshals can disqualify articles and answer questions. Essentially, but Procky and I are the only two who can undisqualify articles.
Gotcha. And so, okay, this is, I guess, if you want to really kind of write out the steps, like say you're an author right now and you want to enter into 6,000, what do you have to do?
Well, check the posting date, which I believe is May 25th is the starting date of posting. Write an article that fits the theme. Post the article when the posting dates open up. Title the page and URL according to the rules. And that's it. Tag it with the 6,000 tag, but other than that, that's it. You just have to write it and post it correctly. And the rules lay it out how to do it.
It's pretty easy.
Yep, there's no other
write something.
Yep, there's no fee of entry. There's no gate you have to pass other than just, hey, you got to actually create something for it.
Cool. Yeah. So you're not too late if you're listening to this podcast.
Absolutely not.
Although I do believe it will be, you'll only have 10 days by the time this releases.
But also I think the posting period's like a week. You still have you're still allowed to write during the posting period. You just are going to be at a little bit of a disadvantage because, you're going to have less time to write. Posting opens. Let's see. Posting opens on the 25th and ends on the 1st. So you've got, 7 days? 6 days. 7 days. You've got a few days to write once the posting period starts. 7 days. Cool. Because there's 31 days in May, right?
Yes. I believe so.
You've got a week. You got a week to continue writing once posting opens, because posting opens on the 25th and ends on the 1st. If you post after June 1st at 12:01 Eastern time in the morning, you are disqualified.
Wow.
Yep.
It's that tight. But then again, it's not that tight.
Yeah, I mean, we're giving you 7 days.
Yeah. So yeah, no excuses if you guys have always wanted to write something.
Yep.
It's not that hard to get into the contest. And so I'm actually curious, why did you become or want to become or decide to become Wiki staff? Because to me, it seems like I mean, I'm very grateful that you guys do these things, but at the same time, I'm like, how? Like, oh my god.
There's a running joke amongst a few people that we are tied to this site by our ankles and a chain. The wiki it's a passion project for a lot of us. There's something really special about a project on the internet lasting this long with this much enthusiasm from this many people. And there's really nothing else like SCP, which is this open and collaborative to anything and anyone internationally that's ever existed, really, at least to my knowledge, that has lasted this long, that has this much media influence, that has, you know, this much of an audience, that is completely open, collaborative, you know, Creative Commons, nobody owns anything. It's all everybody's. And there's something really special about being a part of that. I wanted to become wiki staff at first just because I really liked the wiki and the community and I wanted to help people out. And I'll warn you, when I started out, I sucked. Like, I was just the worst. I was whiny, I was annoying, and I'm the first person to admit that. And then I quit staff. Back when I was still a junior staff member. I quit. And then a few months later, I don't remember how long, but it was a few months, I rejoined after asking to, and I had all these ideas for things that I thought could better the wiki. And I was really excited about them because I legitimately saw a way that, like, this could help people and this could make people more enthusiastic, and it started to. And for me, the feeling of, you know, creating something that matters, even to a small amount of people, it's addicting to me. I like creating things and providing things for people that will matter, at least to them. And this is a way for me personally to do that. For a lot of people on staff, this is a way to help maintain something that matters to them and that matters to a lot of other people.
Yeah, I mean, it's very cool to see. You kind of briefly mentioned like the media effect that SCP has. Like, I remember like seeing an art visualization, of King of the Monsters, the Godzilla film. Yeah, and they literally had 682's head in like one of the labs.
That's pretty funny.
And I was like, you gotta be kidding me.
That's pretty funny.
Like, it's very obvious someone on the art team is an SCP fan and like was using that as a
that's awesome
inspiration for the I forget the name. Is it Mothra or Mother?
I think Mothra. I think they're the same. I feel like they're the same.
Yeah, but they're the organization that like tracks all the monsters, like a secret organization.
From Godzilla. I have no idea, to be honest with you.
But that was cool to see like a AAA film.
That is pretty cool. There have been a couple
SCP,
of AAA games actually that have influenced, like Control and Alan Wake actually is set in the same universe apparently. So
really,
yeah,
which one's that?
Alan Wake. It's an older game. I have it with on my 360 actually because I bought a 360 recently because I'm that guy. I've wanted one since I was 10. Don't judge me. It was $60. I had to do it.
That's not bad.
It's really not. I've got so many games that I have to play now. I'm so excited. But Alan Wake is like an older, I think, survival horror. I haven't really started it yet, but it's set in the same universe as Control.
Huh. Well, I didn't know it went like that far back.
Yeah, well, it's not part of the same storyline. It was just confirmed after Control came out that they were the same universe.
Like, is it the same developers?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Huh. Yeah, I didn't know that. I thought Control was like a brand new team or something.
No, I don't. I think Remedy is pretty like established team.
But there's also the guy. It's a VR game. I think it's called Boneworks. They had like SCP field codes.
I have never heard of that, but that's pretty awesome. I'm gonna have to look into that.
The guy Brandon. He's one of the developers on it. He used to be like part of Freddie W.
There's a lot of Brandons.
Well, he was just known for like working with Freddie W on early internet stuff.
Huh.
Like, it used to be him and Freddie were like the Freddie W channel.
I'm gonna have to look into that. That seems pretty cool.
But yeah, like Fieldworks, it's I don't know if it's fully out yet, but it's like a VR game. And I remember talking to Toad King, who's the creator of Field.
I know Toad King.
And he's like, hey, can I get credit for that? Because like you guys kind of just took that.
Yeah, Toad King's a cool guy.
Yeah, no, he is. So I think they ended up crediting him too. So or they changed it. I don't remember. But believe there are currently SCP field codes in that AAA.
Cool.
Or I guess it's not AAA, indie VR game.
That's pretty cool, actually. I like that.
And I'm sure there's many, many, many more other kind of inspirations that the SCP stuff has affected.
Yeah.
With other,
even if it's just on the down
games.
low, you know, even if it's just a very subtle influence.
I'm pretty confident there is,
Yeah.
because I know a lot of writers that work in TV and film. They kind of like to draw inspiration from things they read. And so, hey, there happens to be this cool sci-fi site that has over 5,000 stories.
Way more than that.
Well, yeah.
Don't forget all the tales.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry. Just speaking of articles.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, not even talking about tales.
Almost 5,000.
Actually, do you know how many tales there are? I actually don't know.
How many tales?
Like loosely, yeah. There's got to be a ton.
I think I can check. Let me see. 4,073 according to this.
Oh, really? I thought there'd be more.
Tales?
Actually. Yeah, I'm actually a little surprised.
That's only according to this. I'm not sure how accurate that is, though.
It's still a lot, though.
Oh yeah, no, it's a lot.
Say. It's still a ton.
Yeah, it's still a fair amount.
So that's your answer, folks.
Possible answer.
But, possible. That's the closest we've gotten on the podcast. And so the other thing I was wondering, what would you say? This is kind of a hard question, but what would you say are like one of the most rewarding kind of experiences being on Wiki staff?
Ooh, okay. Let's see. Personal experience?
Yeah, personal. Yeah.
Whew, okay. My personal most rewarding experience. I mean, there have been a lot of really, really, really great ones. Being promoted to moderator was very special for me because I was not the coolest when I started out on staff, you know, but you know, getting promoted, seeing all my friends say what they did about me, because I know regardless of what people think about you personally on staff, they will absolutely tear into you in any official capacity if they feel like you deserve it. Nobody here pulls punches. It's kind of, it can be demoralizing, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
but it's helps keep us honest at the very least. That being said, I'd say for me, oh, that's really hard. One of my favorite moments as staff was during a dialogue seminar that I hosted, and I'll readily admit that my my dialogue seminars tend to go for a long time. They tend to be like 3 to 4 hours, just because I get really into them. But when I was doing that seminar, as it ended, somebody came up to me there in the seminar and said to me, "Hey, this seminar was for dialogue. This seminar for dialogue was more helpful for writing dialogue for me than one of my college courses was." And I was like, wow. I don't think that's accurate, but thank you. Probably not, but that meant a lot to me, because I don't consider myself, you know, I don't consider myself a college professor in any of the slightest ways, but it made me feel good.
No, that's crazy. Yeah, I definitely think that's valid.
Yeah, it made me feel good.
Especially because I'm sure the format and how it was going about compared to like the structure of a college class, I know that can really help. People.
I do my best to make sure everybody, at the very least, gets included in some way. So there's no lecturing in the seminars.
Yeah, and which I think, you know, most writing stuff, I think it's better to have it as a more back and forth kind of format anyway.
Yeah.
But cool. That's a nice heartwarming story.
Yeah, made me feel good.
And then, okay, last question. We're hitting near the hour.
All right.
But what were some of the most challenging times being a Wiki staff for you? You might have touched on that.
Well, so there's a few. You know, getting seminars off the ground, I faced a lot of pushback because some people didn't think it would work, some people didn't think it would be good, and that was upsetting. But I wouldn't say that's the most challenging. One of the most challenging times was when Duxon started becoming prominent again. That was very scary for me. Just because, you know, that involved legal stuff, and I don't understand legal stuff, and it frightened me.
That's the Russian guy.
Yeah, that's the Russian guy. Yeah, he's the guy who is mean and bad. It was also brought up pretty immediately, like, hey, we're going to need to get legal with this. We're going to need legal funds. And I was there. I was like, awesome. We make no money. And everyone was like, we know. So the idea of the GoFundMe was brought up. I was like, we're never going to hit that goal. And then we did. And I was like, holy shit. So
far exceeded it.
Yeah, that was incredible. That was very, very heartwarming to see just people, care that much about it. That was very nice. But Duxon has by far probably been one of the hardest times, just because it's so constantly an annoyance and an upset that it's also a situation that not all of us completely 100% understand, because, some of us on staff are like my age who don't understand legal things that well.
Yeah.
Some people on staff are like almost 30. Like some people do. We have people who have relatives that are lawyers. I think at one point we did have a lawyer on staff. We don't anymore, I don't think. But, for some people, they understand it better. For others, it's frightening. In general, it's just not fun.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure as we speak, it is still ongoing.
Yes.
The
case is, we're winning, for the record. To my knowledge, we are winning. And it's good because at the end of the day, it pulled a lot of us together to the point where, we all as a community understand that we're on one team because of this. It helped bring us all together at the end.
No, I definitely agree. I think also just seeing the outpouring of support.
Yeah.
Like when it really mattered with that GoFundMe.
Exactly. Same with Gears.
Yeah, Gears too. That's another example. It shows that like people are putting money where their mouth is.
Exactly.
I think I'm using that saying right.
I have no idea, to be honest with you.
But basically, people are walking the walk. They're not all talk, as they say.
Even if they are, it's just the fact that people showed support. That's really what matters. Even if it was just, sharing it or saying something against Duxon, that was what mattered the most to me. It wasn't ever about people donating. I mean, that was helpful and very, very heartwarming to see, because, otherwise we wouldn't have been able to afford to go to court with this. But, for me, it was all about seeing people just come together and say, this is bad. We want the wiki to stay under everybody's control instead of just one person's.
Yeah, I will say there seems to be a very kind of unified perspective on this issue, which it can be surprising given how A, misinformation is so easy to spread.
Yes.
B, it's a very complicated situation. Most people don't even understand like what a Creative Commons is, and they're like, when's the Netflix series coming? So that's why it was very, very like nice to see. It seemed like people relatively had a kind of a sense of like why this is wrong and why we need to like stand up against this, why it's so important.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why I think there is a bright future for the community overall. I mean, there's a bunch of reasons, but it's fun to be a part of this.
Yeah, I enjoy it.
On that note, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for clearing up a lot of like wiki staff questions I've always wanted to ask. Do you have any specific things you personally want to shout out, or for the wiki? I'll throw all the links in the description.
If anybody ever has any questions, you can feel free to PM me. I'm pretty much easily findable on the sometimes on the front page when there are seminars announced, but you can find me on the Meet the Staff page. I'm always in the IRC chat. I don't sleep because insomnia, but also just because my account is always there even when I am asleep. So if you ever have any questions, you can hit me up. You can hit any other staff members up. We sound scary sometimes. That's just because we haven't had our coffee yet, or we're just tired.
Yeah.
We try and be nice.
You guys do put up with a lot.
Sometimes. But we try and make it as good for everyone as we can.
Cool. I will try to have links for pretty much everything we mentioned, so that way it's easy for anyone who's interested to find what we talked about. But yeah, thanks, Taylor.
Yeah, man.
It was fun.
Thanks for having me.
All right, see ya.
Peace.